Alrighty, welcome everybody to my second divisional draft grade video for the 2023 NFL Draft. If you don't know me already, my name is David. I also go by MillerFootball, and I'm currently going division by division, team by team, and pick by pick to hand out grades for the 2023 NFL Draft. Now, as I said, this is the second division I will have covered. If you want to go check out the first division being the NFC North and the home of my Chicago Bears, definitely check that out. It'll be on my channel. You can just click the little icon that takes you to my channel, or there'll be a link in the description, whichever suits your fancy. But today we're going to be talking about the AFC North, and I'm hoping that this video is going to be a little bit better. This is going to be like my second real YouTube video I've made. I've done a couple other like podcast-esque videos, and those require a lot less editing, a lot less, finesse and whatnot. So we're going to change that for this and hopefully add a little bit of flair, make it a little more entertaining for everyone out there watching these. So without further ado, I guess let's just go ahead and jump into this. And I want you all to keep in mind before I get started that I'm not an NFL GM. I'm just a 20-year-old college kid who really likes football and has way too much free time, so I spent a lot of time scouting these players and giving my own evaluations, which is what these grades will be based off of. So I could very easily be wrong when I say that, Tavius Robinson is fine and he ends up being an all-pro 3 years down the line. If you want to take that victory lap in 3 years, by all means. Basically, my point here is I'm trying to say I don't know better than these GMs. I just have my opinions, and I want to put them out there, and people apparently seem to like those. So, like I said, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it, starting out with the Ravens. Alrighty, so starting out here with the Baltimore Ravens. Much like, every team in this division that we're going to be talking about, I think they did a pretty damn good job. I really like how they addressed their offensive needs. Going offensive line late on day 3 and then taking a wide receiver in the first round that they really need that we'll be talking about here in a moment. And they also got some nice pieces on defense, some developmental guys, players that can help down the road. So I think as a whole, for only having, 6 draft picks here, they did very well. So let's go ahead and jump into this, starting out with their first pick being Zay Flowers. And I think this was a really, really smart pick by Baltimore. According to Brett Coleman, there was a conversation had between Flowers and the Baltimore Ravens during the Senior Bowl. I want to say that's the game he was invited to, where they essentially said that if he's on the board, he's their guy. Like, they told him all the way back during the Senior Bowl that they were going to take him, and they honored their word, which is awesome to see. Obviously, you love to see teams actually honoring their word to players. But as a whole, as a player, he's a fantastic fit for Baltimore. Baltimore really needs somebody that they can, rely on at wide receiver. And I know they just added Odell and they have Rashad Bateman, but those two guys aren't reliable in my opinion. They just can't stay on the field long enough to be reliable. Now, I think Bateman can develop into a reliable guy if he can stay healthy, and Odell, I think he's a little bit past that personally, but, getting Flowers, who is just a good player on all 3 levels, he's fast, good release, just all the traits you want in a wide receiver. Sure, he's a little bit small, but other than that, he's a damn good ball player. So getting him as somebody who can both be a deep threat for Lamar and also just be a guy that he can hit underneath and let create after the catch is huge. And all of a sudden, the Ravens receiver room, if they're healthy, have gone from one of the worst to one of the better groups. With Bateman and Odell and Flowers and Duvernay, and then the tight end room, obviously, with Likely and Andrews. The Ravens have some nice pieces around Lamar. This is one of the more talented offenses he's had, if not the most talented offense he's had. In fact, it probably is the most talented offense he's had. And obviously, he's got Todd Monken calling the shots now instead of Greg Roman, who I have very conflicting feelings about because he loves fullbacks, but he's also not very good at what he does. So it's just nice to see that Lamar has some help and that he's going to be able to thrive, hopefully, with these weapons around him. So with Flowers, I'm going to give this pick an A. Again, Flowers was my wide receiver 2, player I really liked. He was the, 3rd receiver off the board, I think. Yeah, it would have been 3rd, because Quentin Johnston went before him, as well as JSN. So, just as a whole, I think this was a really, really nice pick by Baltimore. Definitely no complaints from me there. Moving on to the third round, as the Ravens obviously traded away their second-round pick to my Chicago Bears for Roquan Smith in a trade that I don't care what anybody says, both sides benefited from. The Ravens took Trenton Simpson with their third-round pick at pick 86, and I'm going to tell you up front, I don't like this pick. Not because I think this is a reach, it's just because I'm not a fan of Simpson. This was a really weak linebacker class, and Simpson was not a guy that inspired confidence for me. He's somebody that just looked lost a lot of the time, if we're being totally honest. His run diagnostics are awful. His instincts and coverage are awful. His just overall feel for the position just really wasn't there. Now, don't get me wrong, this guy's a really good athlete. He had a 4.43 40 time, accelerates well, moves well in space, good change of direction. Like, all the athletic tools are there. It's just everything mental is just not there. And I don't know if that's a coaching thing. I don't know if that's a him thing. I don't know what it is. But there needs to be a lot of work done before I'm confident in Simpson as a starting linebacker. And that's looking to be the trend, or looking to be where Baltimore is trending, given the fact that Patrick Queen is on the last year of his deal, and I can't imagine that's somebody they want to pay. So, I don't know. It's tough for me to rationalize this pick as a whole, or rationalize this player, I should say. Like I said, the pick isn't terrible just because I think this is about where Simpson should have gone. I will say, though, if you want Simpson to be more of a hybrid edge, if you want him to be like Tyus Bowser, for example, where he just does a lot of rushing the quarterback, then I'd like this pick a lot more. Because Simpson is very good at that. He has a good pass rushing tool belt. He has good just overall ability as a pass rusher. So if you want to do that, if he's just a guy you plan on blitzing every play and every once in a while dropping back into coverage, then sure. This pick makes a lot more sense. It's just, I don't know if that's their plan. There's nothing to suggest that that's their plan, so it's tough. I think as a whole, I'm going to give this pick a B- just because, like I said, I don't think this is a reach. I just don't like Simpson. I just don't think he's that great. Moving on to the fourth round, the Baltimore Ravens selected edge rusher Tavius Robinson, and this is a pick that I'm going to be a lot more positive towards. I like it a good bit. Robinson is very similar, or at least in the same vein as guys like Matt Judon or Zadarius Smith, who have both been through Baltimore, both played very well there, required some development, and that's kind of what Tavius Robinson's going to be. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as either of them. Obviously, that is yet to be determined, but his skill set's very similar. He has everything you want. The length, the athleticism, he's a good run defender, he's smart. He just doesn't have a lot of strength in his upper arms, or in his arms, rather, in his upper body, which does hold him back, but if he can put on some muscle there and just kind of pull everything together. Like, this is a guy who was playing Canadian football a few years back. And that was kind of his plan. He was playing college, or he was going to play in the CFL, and then COVID happened, and he went over to Ole Miss and ended up playing well against higher competition, if we're being totally honest, and declared for the draft and got taken in the fourth round. So, I like Robinson for Baltimore. I'm confident they can develop him. So I'm going to give this pick a B+. I definitely like it a lot more than the Simpson pick. And then moving here into the fifth round, we've got Caillou Blue Kelly, who, I don't know, he's not a corner that has a ton of upside, but I think his floor is solid enough that, taking him in the fifth round is fine value. I can't remember what my grade was on him, if I'm being totally honest. I'll probably flash it on the screen. But I've liked what I've seen out of him. He's a smart corner. He's just not the most athletic guy in the world. He's not the most physical guy in the world. He's not going to be much help in run defense. But, if you're drafting him with the knowledge that he's going to be your CB4, probably can step in a pinch or step in packages where you want more DBs on the field, then that's a fine pick. I'm going to give this a B. I don't have as much to say about Kelly, if I'm being totally honest, because I haven't watched as much film on him as some of these other guys, and I just wasn't, as impressed by him. But I think as a whole, he's solid. He's fine. Not a guy that's going to blow your mind, but he's good enough, in the fifth round, it's the type of player you want to take. You're either taking a guy that has a low ceiling that you're just hoping can play a role, or you're taking a flyer on somebody with high upside, and you did one of those two things, so it's a good process, right? And then moving on here to the 6th round, I'm going to be 100% honest. I am awful at pronouncing names, so I'm not going to butcher this poor guy's name. I tried to, off camera, pronounce it before I started recording, and in between recording, it's just not going to happen. So Laulu, that's his last name. That's what we're going to go with, Laulu here. Good pick. You know, he's a versatile offensive lineman, has played across the offensive line. You lost Ben Powers at guard, so you're just looking for guys who can maybe step in there, maybe compete there, and that's exactly what he's going to do. You know, it's the 6th round, just looking for some sort of value, just looking for a guy who can provide something to your team, and Laulu's going to do that. You know, played at Oregon for 3 years, like I said, played all across the offensive line, so he's one of those bigger guys that, you know, probably translates better as a guard, but we've seen Baltimore take some of these bigger guys like Daniel Falele last year or Orlando Brown Jr. however many years ago. So I'm going to give this pick a B. Definitely not a lot to complain about here. Again, like Kelly, just good process. And then here in the 7th round, this is where the Ravens hit a home run. Andrew Voorhees, I understand why he was available in the 7th round. He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie. He's going to miss the entirety of his first season. But I don't care. You know, he's a guard. Guards have a good lifespan in the NFL. He's smart. He's athletic enough. He's strong enough. His hands are good. Like, there's not a lot of weaknesses to Voorhees' game. So this is a guy that, you know, when he's 26 in his 2nd year and healthy, probably a plug-and-play starter for you. So to get that in the 7th round is awesome value. Again, I get why he was here, but that doesn't make this any less of a great pick for Baltimore. So I'm actually going to give this an A+. Like, this is an awesome pick for Baltimore. Definitely one of the steals of the draft. So yeah, as a whole for Baltimore, don't really have a lot to say here. I just really like what they did this year. Zay Flowers is awesome. Tavius Robinson has great upside. Voorhees is awesome. And then their other 3 picks, you know, there's something there. There's something to be had there. I don't think they missed on any of their picks. I don't think they reached on any of their picks. So just as a whole, I'm going to give this an A-. The only thing that drops it a little bit is Trenton Simpson, if we're being totally honest. But as a whole, good draft class. See the vision with all of these picks, except for Simpson, I guess. I'm being a little mean to Trenton Simpson. I promise I don't think he's like the worst player in the world. It's just I can't get behind an off-ball linebacker with none of the mental aspects of the game. But yeah, as a whole, I like what Baltimore did. Gonna give them an A-. And I think much like the other 3 teams we're about to talk about, they did very, very good this year. Moving on to the Cincinnati Bengals, this is a team that didn't really have any pressing needs going into the draft, so there was no need for them to reach, right? They just needed talent. They just needed upside. They needed potential. And on a lot of their picks, that's what they did. They took guys that have high upside, high potential, a couple guys that might be able to contribute day one. So just looking at it at, you know, first glance, looking at it from a process standpoint, Bengals did a hell of a job, just like the other 3 teams in this division. So starting out with their 1st round pick being Myles Murphy, it's no secret that I am very vocally not a Myles Murphy enjoyer. I will say taking him in the late 1st, early 2nd is probably about where I would have taken him. I think 28 might be a little rich for him based off what he did last year. Now, 2021 Myles Murphy, whole different ballgame. That's what all these highlights you're seeing are going to be of. Is his 2021 season, where he played like a legitimate edge, like a legitimate force to be reckoned with. Then he came out in 2022, and all of a sudden he's playing like the big kid on the playground that plays gentle because he knows he's bigger than everybody and doesn't want to hurt anybody. And that's not what you want out of a pass rusher. I mean, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. You got a guy with that kind of mentality, you don't want him on the field. And I guess mentality is the wrong way to put that. I don't know what's going on in his head. You know, it could be a billion different things. So not mentality, just the way he is on tape, what he looks like on tape is that big kid on the playground, which is very concerning for a guy about to make the leap to the NFL. Now, all of Clemson's defense last year took a step back, so maybe it's a coaching thing. I don't know. But I can tell you right now, just based off what I saw last year, I don't love Myles Murphy. 2021 isn't enough to dig him out of that hole either. You know, if it wasn't for the 2021 tape, this would be like a D- or an F. You know, this would be The worst pick of the first round for me, if I'm being totally honest. But that being said, because he has that 2021 tape, and he has that athletic upside, I can't be too mad at the Bengals. Like, they're a team that, like I said, can afford to maybe take a risk here. And, you're picking at pick 28. You're coming off a deep run last year. You're probably going to have another deep run this year. So I can't hate it too much, but I also don't love it. I'm going to give this a C+, and I think that's even being a little generous. I just really don't like Myles Murphy. Moving on to a pick that I'm going to be a little bit more positive about in DJ Turner. I really like the Bengals going this route. Again, it's the second round. You can afford to take a bit of a flyer on a crazy athlete, and that's exactly what you're doing. You've got a guy here with 4.26 speed and really good ball skills that absolutely lit up the combine. So, this is a great place to take a guy like this. Really good process in that regard. Now, he's not the strongest guy in the world, not the most productive. He's a little skinny. His ability to stop and start aren't great. Like, he's so fast that he can't stop and then pick it right back up, So that's a little bit rough, but again, it's the second round. You can afford to take that kind of risk. He has the upside of a really good CB2, which can work out next to Chidobe Awuzie. So this is a really good pick by Cincy. This is definitely a lot better than what they did in the first round with Myles Murphy. So I'm going to give them an A here. Again, I really like this pick for them. Moving on to the third round, the Bengals took safety Jordan Battle out of Alabama, and this is another pick that I like for them. Obviously, this year's safety class was pretty weak, but Battle's a guy that has a high floor in a weak safety class, so that makes him stand out a little bit. He's no Brian Branch. He's not his teammate, right? But he's going to be good enough. You've got a lot of experience, over 3,000 snaps at Alabama. Very smart dude. Doesn't give up a lot of big plays. He's able to trigger and go. He's a good tackler, fluid hips, physical, versatile. Fast enough. He ran a 4.55. He's just a high floor guy that's not the flashiest dude in the world, but at the end of the day, he gets shit done. And we've seen the Bengals like guys that just get shit done. And obviously, after losing Jesse Bates, him and Dax Hill are going to be able to make up their safety duo there long term. I can't remember if the Bengals brought in anybody. I'm sure they did. But either way, long-term Battle will be able to definitely step up and take over the safety role. Now, he's not the best tackler in the world, but as a probable free safety, that's fine. At the end of the day, as long as you're trying. He's not Eddie Jackson out there, right? He's not making business decisions. It's just there's times where he takes bad angles and whatnot, and that's something that can be coached up a little bit. So as a whole, again, I like this Jordan Battle pick for sure. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a B+. I don't like it quite as much as the DJ Turner pick, but it was definitely a good move by Cincinnati. Moving on to the fourth round, the Bengals took wide receiver Charlie Jones out of Purdue. And again, another really nice pick. This one's a little bit different, as I don't think Jones is going to see the field a whole lot this year, but down the line, he is a great replacement for Tyler Boyd as your slot wide receiver. I want to say Boyd's contract is up at the end of this year or next year, so within the next 2 years, you're going to need another slot guy, and Charlie Jones can be that for you, without a doubt. He's not a guy that's very good against press coverage, and he's probably going to get bodied if you try to do that. But in terms of, just route running and finding the soft spot in the zone, Jones can do that all day, every day, and twice on Sunday, right? Really good route runner. He has good burst out of his breaks. He's got good hand usage. He's got good focus. There's not going to be a lot of concentration drops. And he's even a good kick and punt returner. So, this is a pick that in the fourth round, really good value, really smart pick, planning for the future a little bit. Definitely can't complain. I think he had 110 catches or something like that last year. So definitely productive in college, has a nice highlight reel if that's your thing. So this is a really nice pick by Cincinnati once again. This is a pick that I'm going to give a B+ to. It's, again, a lot of these, it's just I don't like them as much as DJ Turner, but they're good picks. So definitely can't complain here with this one either. And then moving into the fifth round, Chase Brown out of Illinois, one of my favorite players in this class. To put it simply, I don't like to do player-to-player comps, but Chase Brown is almost a clone of Miles Sanders. So if that's your thing, you're going to like this guy a lot. Good burst, really good speed, really good athlete. Him and his twin brother Sydney are both very athletic ball players. It's just Brown's big hang-up is his vision isn't the greatest, which is admittedly a turnoff for me in most cases. But Brown was one of my 6 favorite running backs in this class despite that despite that disadvantage. Bad vision isn't a sickness, folks. It's just a part of a game. But yeah, despite that, he was still one of my favorite backs in the class, which is saying a lot for me. So Brown was very productive last year. He accounted for like 40% of Illinois' offense. Good pass catcher out of the backfield. Overall smart runner. It's just the vision. That's the big hang up for me. So, I'll say it here. I think Brown can be a replacement for Joe Mixon, which is hopefully something the Bengals are looking for because we hate Joe Mixon on this channel. So if that's the case, then this is fantastic value getting that guy in the 5th round. If not, you're getting a fantastic RB2 in the 5th round, which is also great. So I'm going to give this pick an A. This is another pick, much like DJ Turner, that I just absolutely love for the Bengals. Once Chase Brown started to slip out of the 3rd round, which is where I thought he would be drafted, I had a 3rd round grade on him. I knew whoever ended up with him was getting a steal, and Cincinnati ending up with him is awesome. Moving on to the 6th round, the Bengals made 2 selections, and I'm just going to group them in here because one of them was a punter, and if I'm being totally honest, I don't have a lot to say about Brad Robbins. But starting out with Andre Yoshivas, I think I pronounced that right. Again, really bad with name pronunciation, so if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. Another really good pick. I know I sound like a broken record, but the Bengals are a team that just did very well. Yoshivas, again, I think I'm saying that right. Is just a fast receiver. He's going to be really good in like 4 and 5 wide sets. Like I said, good foot quickness. He's a good route runner. He's going to create a lot of separation for you. He's just a body catcher, which is not great. And he's not great after the catch. But if you're just looking for a guy who can get down the field, you can throw it up to him. He's going to bring it in and then, I guess, fall over. And then he's your guy. As a wide receiver 4, that's pretty good. If he's even going to be that high, maybe Charlie Jones sees the field a little bit more than him this year, which should probably be the case. But either way, good pick again. Just another talented pass catcher for Joe Burrow. Going to give this one a B. And then, much like Yoshivas, I'm forcing myself to say that name more than I should. Brad Robbins, I'm going to give a B to. Again, it's a punter. I don't do a lot of punter scouting, but from what I saw, he looked like he does his thing and he does it well. So that's about the nicest thing I can say about a punter. And then finally, in the 7th round, the Bengals took cornerback DJ Ivey. And just from a process standpoint, this is a good pick. You're taking a premium position with a lot of tools and some experience. Good on that front. If I'm being totally honest, I'm not super familiar with Ivey. Like, I've done my homework, but I haven't gone as deep on him as some of the other corners, say like DJ Turner, for example. So I'm not going to sit here and bullshit. Like I said, he's just a traitsy corner, and in the 7th round, that's good process. So just grading this off process, this is an A. I've heard a lot of really good things about Ivey, so I'm not going to give this an incomplete grade or something like that. From a process standpoint, what I've been told and the little bit I've watched, just a good pick by Cincinnati once again. So as a whole, for a team that really didn't have any pressing needs, this was a really good class. The only complaint I have is Myles Murphy, and I've already said my piece. I'm not going to go on another tangent. But guys like Turner and Jones and Browns and Battle were just really, really good picks. Ivey was good process. You got a damn punter, because why not? So definitely can't say anything negative about this class. I'm going to give it an A-. And again, the only thing holding it back from being an A or potentially even an A+ is going to be Myles Murphy here. So love what the Bengals did. They're definitely a team that got better following the draft for sure. Moving over to the Cleveland Browns, for not having a 1st or 2nd round pick, they did pretty well. Obviously, they wasted their 1st and 2nd round pick on a sicko who very much underperformed last year and hopefully will continue to do so. I'm very sorry, Cleveland. I know you guys have suffered a lot, but until he's gone, we're going to need you to suffer a little bit more. But yeah, with the picks they made, they definitely did work. I like what they did in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th round. So let's go ahead and jump into it, starting out with Cedric Tillman, who was a fantastic pick. I don't love the wide receivers in this class as a whole, so this probably grade-wise isn't going to be as high as what some other people might give it, but I did like Tillman. I definitely liked him a lot more than his teammate Jalen Hyatt, because Tillman actually looks like a complete wide receiver and not just another speedster. Not to say that he's not fast. Like, obviously Tillman can create separation downfield and be a threat, but he's also a good 50-50 guy. He's a solid route runner. He can make plays in the short to intermediate range. Like, he just comes off as a more complete receiver than quite a few of the players in this draft class, especially Jalen Hyatt. So adding him to a room with Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones and David Njoku, if you want to throw in the tight ends, like, that's a good set of weapons in Cleveland. They obviously needed to add somebody else to that receiver room, and Cedric Tillman was a great choice. So like I said, not going to be as high of a grade, just because as a whole I don't love the receiver class, but I'm going to give this a B+. Definitely good process, good player, good value. It's really close to an A- for me, but I'm going to give it a B+. And then we move on to their other 3rd round pick, which they made 24 picks later, and that's going to be Siaki Ika, who is a nose tackle out of Baylor. And, you know, as for what you're getting out of him, it's a nose tackle. That's what he is. He is your run-of-the-mill nose tackle. A guy that kind of underwhelmed me on tape, if I'm being 100% honest. Like, I was told he was Vita Vea in green, and I just don't see that. I see more of like a great value Vita Vea, who's not this fantastic pass rusher, but maybe there's a little bit of something there to be tapped into. Definitely a really good space eater, definitely a good run defender. He's a smart player, uses his weight well, but I hate saying this, because I feel like telling anybody what to do with their body kind of sucks, but it's just a normal evaluation thing, as weird as it might seem. But I do think if Ika lost like 15 or so pounds, and was a little quicker, that his upside as a pass rusher would be much higher, and maybe we could start to talk about him as a really, really nice defensive tackle. But at his current size, at his current weight, you know, I'm a bigger dude, so I feel him. I think he's just your stereotypical nose tackle, and that's fine. Those guys have a role. You need somebody that's going to eat space and make the linebackers' jobs easier and swallow a running back when he hits the wrong hole. And that's just what Ika's going to do. So, in the 3rd round, good value. I thought he was about a 3rd or 4th round pick. So I'm going to give this a B+ as well. Just overall, good player for what he does, plays his role well, good run defender, etc. And obviously Cleveland's defensive line needed the help. Lord knows they were not doing great there, and obviously that defensive line looks completely different now, especially since they just traded for Zadarius Smith, which I forgot about until this very moment. Good lord. But yeah, B+, like I said. Moving on to the 4th round, their first of 2 4th-round picks was used on DeJuan Jones, who's an offensive tackle out of Ohio State, and this is a straight-up steal. I like DeJuan Jones a lot. I think there is definitely a world where he can be a damn good offensive tackle in the NFL. Sure, he needs work, he's a bit of a project, but he's worth taking higher than the 4th round, and the fact that he fell that far is absolutely baffling to me. Because this dude is just a straight-up physical menace. It's going to be very hard even for guys in the NFL to overpower him. And it's not like he's slow, you know, he can move pretty damn well for somebody his size. He's a good run blocker, good physicality, good tenacity. He just looks like he wants to eat defensive ends. And who doesn't love an an offensive tackle that wants to eat edge rushers? That is like exactly what you want. I had a late 1st round, early 2nd round grade on this guy, and for him to go in the 4th round is absurd. Like I said, this is a straight up steal for Cleveland, giving this pick an A+. 3-4 years down the line, if it even takes that long, DeJuan Jones could be a damn good tackle for the Browns. And then their other 4th round pick was spent on Isaiah McGuire, who I thought, when they made this pick would be a great guy to play opposite Myles Garrett, Now it looks like he's going to be more of a rotational guy with Zadarius Smith coming in, but as a rotational guy, you can do a hell of a lot worse than Isaiah McGuire. He's a guy that's got that combination of power and explosion. He's strong. He's able to disengage from blocks well. He's got a little bit of bend. His hand work, or his hand usage, whatever you want to call it, is pretty damn good. Got a solid pass rush tool belt. He's a guy that I don't think has the highest upside in the world, but as a 4th round pick, again, you can do a hell of a lot worse than Isaiah McGuire. So this is another pick that's going to get a B+ from me. I like this a lot. I like McGuire. And as the 3rd edge rusher in Cleveland, I guess 4th because of Okoronkwo that they added from Houston. Again, Cleveland's defensive line looks a hell of a lot better than it did last year, and McGuire's definitely going to be a factor there. Moving into the 5th round, the Browns spent their first of 2 picks on quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson out of UCLA, and maybe this is a little bit controversial, I don't know. I don't like DTR. I wasn't impressed by him. I wasn't moved by him. He's fine. I guess, like, as a mobile quarterback, he's definitely got mobility. He's definitely fun to watch. But he just can't read a defense. His accuracy is inconsistent. His mechanics are sloppy. I'll put it this way, to kind of summarize my thoughts on DTR. Take all of the hate that guys like Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts and other mobile quarterbacks, the hate they've gotten, right? All of these unjust claims that they can't pass, they can't throw, they're a running back. All of that is kind of what DTR is. I'm still not going to call him a running back, because I hate that. That's bullshit. But he's not a good thrower of the football. There's a lot of work to be done there. So I guess he's a good, project quarterback, but the 5th round is a little rich for me. He was more of a 7th round, maybe priority free agent type guy. So I'm going to give this a D+. Just because, I see the excitement, I see the vision, I just don't think he's that good, and I think this was early for him. And then their other 5th round pick, they took a premium position with Cam Mitchell. Can't complain there. This is a guy who is fluid, he's decently fast, made plays on a really bad Northwestern defense, is one of the few bright spots in that secondary, if not the only bright spot in that secondary. He's a bit of a ball hawk, tracks the ball well. His timing's really good. He's physical. He's willing to play the run. This is a corner that I like. He's a project. Again, not somebody that I think is super refined or anything like that. But in the 5th round, this is the type of guy you take. I like him a hell of a lot more than DTR, I'll tell you that much. So I'm going to give this pick, again, a B+. Just another good process pick by the Cleveland Browns. So yeah, definitely can't complain there either. And then with their final pick, they took DeJuan Jones' teammate Luke Weipler out of Ohio State, plays center. And this, again, absolute steal. My mind is still blown that he fell to the 6th round. I think there was an injury that I didn't know about. I'm pretty sure I've heard a few people talk about that. I could be wrong, but that would explain why he fell, because for me, Luke Weipler was a 2nd round pick. He was the 2nd best center in this class in my eyes, behind John Michael Schmitz. So him falling to the 6th round, is absolutely insane. Cleveland saw that, and even though they have a nice center in Ethan Pocic, I think he's only on a 1 or 2 year deal, so going out and getting a guy that can come in behind him makes a lot of sense. Now, Weipler isn't the most overpowering guy in the world, he isn't the most athletic guy in the world, but he's smart. His football IQ and his instincts make up for all that. So in the 6th round, again, this is tremendous value, another absolute steal. I'm going to give this pick, much like the Jones pick, an A+. 2 A+s both on the offensive line is really good process in the same draft. So as a whole, like I said, I hate to admit it, but Cleveland did a pretty damn good job. Despite, some of the other mistakes they've made that will probably hurt them. And by other mistakes, I mean mistake. I gotta stop. I'm sorry. If it's not apparent, I can't stand Deshaun Watson. But yeah, other than that, they've done a very good job of building up their team. Not having a 1st or 2nd round pick will definitely hurt most teams, but they did a damn good job at finding value. So I'm going to give this a B+, just because you have to factor in that trade that they made, and that's going to knock them down a little bit, for me at least. So, yeah. Give me shit for that all you want. Trading for a franchise quarterback, I don't care. Okay, I really don't. He looked bad last year. and I'm going to need to see a hell of a lot more before I think he was worth anything near what they gave up for him. So yeah, B+ for Cleveland, definitely a really nice draft class overall. It's just that trade they made and also the DTR pick are holding them down a little bit. And finally, taking a look at the Pittsburgh Steelers draft class, I'm going to tell you right now, this was the best class in the AFC North, in my opinion. We'll talk about, an overall grade here when we get through these picks, but my God, did Omar Khan absolutely knock it out of the park. Starting out by trading up for offensive tackle Broderick Jones, who, I'm going to say I'm not the biggest fan of, just because I think there's a lot of work to be had there, but he's going to Pittsburgh. We have seen their coaching staff do a lot of really good work with developing guys, and considering their offensive tackles were bottom-of-the-barrel starters at best, makes a ton of sense to go out and get a guy like Broderick Jones. Obviously, they had to trade up for him, but, you're jumping the New York Jets, who I've heard rumors were interested in him. It would make a ton of sense for them, even if they weren't, so I can see why Pittsburgh would feel the need to do that. But yeah, he's just a violent people mover at offensive tackle. He's an explosive athlete, just overall 5-star athletic profile, athletic traits. He can be a legitimate cornerstone for your offensive line. He has that all-pro upside at left tackle. And like I said, given how bad Pittsburgh's offensive tackles were, home run pick. This is an A. I'm not going to give it an A+, just because, like I said, I am a little bit lower on Jones than some, but in terms of process, in terms of the upside, just a really good overall pick by Pittsburgh. Then we get to the second round, and they end up with somebody that a lot of people thought they would just go ahead and take in the first round, and that's Joey Porter Jr., the cornerback out of Penn State. Obviously, Porter was one of the 3 or 4 best corners in this class, so for him to fall to the second round to begin with is crazy value. But then you also get the nice little storyline of, look, he's going to play for his dad's old team in Pittsburgh, who really needed corner help, is getting a long, physical, aggressive player that's good in man coverage. He can be an impactful playmaker in their secondary, day one starter at corner. You can't get much better than that in the second round. Say whatever weird technicalities you want that it was a first round pick. No, it wasn't. It was a second round pick. I don't care that 32 any other year's a first round pick. It was still in the second round. And maybe that's just me being a little bit salty because we gave up this pick for Chase Claypool. I don't care. I like Claypool. But yeah, it's a great pick. Proved a lot of mock drafters kind of right, including myself. So in terms of value, in terms of fit, in terms of narrative, this is another A. Another really, really nice pick by Pittsburgh. And their second round pick, they took my boy Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin. I know it has him listed as a nose tackle. He's just a defensive tackle. He's so much more than a nose. He was one of my favorite players in this class as a whole, ironically, but also very fittingly, and probably a big reason why Pittsburgh liked him and ended up drafting him, is that he reminds me a lot of a young Cam Hayward. He's a big physical player with a lot of pass rushing upside, going to be a really good run defender day one, probably why they have him listed as a nose tackle here. And he's going to be your eventual successor for Hayward, because God love him, he's not getting any younger. And you're going to need somebody who can come in and, be that replacement, be an impactful playmaker on the defensive line. He's just a dominant, strong defensive tackle who has refined hands, just an excellent technician at D-tackle. It's just he's got to really tap into that pass rushing upside. And we saw Pittsburgh do exactly that with Cam Hayward. So who's to say they can't do it with Keanu Benton? And he'll also get the privilege of working with... No, I'm sorry, I was about to say Brian Flores. He's gone now. Either way, Pittsburgh's defensive coaching staff is really nice. He's going to get to work with Cam Hayward. There you go. There's the big name he gets to work with. The guy that I think he compares to. He's going to get to learn from him. He's going to be a mentor to Benton. So overall, really nice pick. I had a late first round, early second round grade on Benton. I was mocking him in the late first quite often. So getting him at pick 49 is tremendous value according to my rankings. So this is another A. And that is 3 A's in a row for Pittsburgh. And we're just going to keep that train rolling into Darnell Washington, who, spoiler alert, I'm also going to give an A to. Washington's awesome. Just a big, physical, fun tight end that can be a really good blocker for you, has tremendous upside as a pass catcher. Obviously, you've got Pat Freiermuth right now, who is your solidified number 1 tight end. But Washington can come in behind him, let you run a little more 12 personnel, let Connor Hayward play fullback, which is awesome. It's just a nice little added bonus there. Although I guess he's not going to be, because they signed Monty Potenbaum out of free agency. I kind of forgot about that for a moment. So I don't know. You got options at fullback, which is fun. But yeah, Darnell Washington. Good Lord, I got all jumbled up. This draft class is just really freaking good. It all runs together for me. Yeah, he's a physical, nasty player who's not afraid to move people, not only like as a blocker, but he can also just like throw people as, you know, someone with the ball in his hands after the catch and whatnot. He's awesome. He's just a really, really good player. Good value pick in the third round. Washington again, late first, early second round type guy. I think I might have had a true second round grade on him, but either way, I could have seen him going in the first round. I wouldn't have complained about it. So again, like I said, another A, and Pittsburgh absolutely knocked it out of the park with their first 4 picks. And then we get to the 4th round, and Pittsburgh made a bit of an interesting pick with linebacker, edge rusher Nicholas Herbig, once again out of Wisconsin. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Nate Herbig, his brother, is on Pittsburgh's offensive line, so you got another fun connection there. Pittsburgh's draft really had a lot of connections. You got Joey Porter and Joey Porter Jr., Keanu Benton and Cam Hayward, who, like I said, is just like his ceiling, and then the Herbig brothers. That's fun. But anyways, back to Nicholas Herbig, who I am calling by his full first name for obvious reasons. A really good ball player. He's a bit of an interesting evaluation because he is an edge rusher in an off-ball linebacker's body, but that does give him some of that coverage flexibility, so you can do different things with him. He was really productive at Wisconsin. He has a nose for the ball. He's good at getting in the backfield. Really nice bend, really quick. So like as a rotational edge rusher, which is what he's going to be with Watt and Highsmith, really nice value in the 4th round, really good player. I'm not going to quite give this one an A just because I feel like he's a weird player to project, but I think there's definitely something to be had with Herbig. I think there's definitely a lot of upside there, so I'm going to give this an A-. It's not far off, but we're going to give this one an A- for sure. I like Herbig a good bit, and him and Benton sticking together is fun too. So I'm excited to see what kind of role he's going to carve out. Then we move on to the 7th round, and Pittsburgh took cornerback Corey Trice out of Purdue. And I'm going to be honest, this isn't someone that I'm hyper familiar with. Like, I didn't watch a lot of tape on Trice, but much like Ivy with the Bengals, just another traitsy corner. His physical profile is very, very similar to that of Tariq Woolen, who we saw taken late last year and ended up being really good. So Trice is more of like a long-term projection for the Steelers. I don't think he's going to be an immediate impact starter like Joey Porter is going to be. But even then, I think he is somebody that has a lot of upside. You know, his size and length, like I said, very reminiscent of Tariq Woolen. He's explosive, he's fluid, he's sticky in man coverage. You know, just as a 7th round pick, you can't really ask for much more. He's also really intelligent, has good ball skills. Like, again, in the 7th round, you can't ask for much more. You can't ask for better value. You can't ask for a better project, so to speak. So this is going to get an A for me as well. This is just another fantastic pick by Pittsburgh. And then we get to the 7th round, and Pittsburgh selected center Spencer Anderson out of Maryland. And this is another guy that I'm not hyper familiar with, but good athletic traits. He's mean, he's physical, he's got good technical ability. So in the 7th round, you know, just as a developmental interior lineman with upside, another really good pick. I'm going to give this one a B+. Unfortunately, Pittsburgh isn't going to get all A's on their report card. But if your worst grade's a B+, you're doing pretty damn good. So as a whole, you know, as somebody who used to be known as an avid hater of the Pittsburgh Steelers, it pains me to say this is an A+. Omar Khan absolutely knocked it out of the park. He gave the defense some new fun faces. He gave Kenny Pickett some blockers and a potential new fun weapon. Like, you can't get much better than this. You really can't. Getting Joey Porter in the 2nd round is absurd value. Benton in the 2nd round, Washington in the 3rd round, just so much value across the board. So many talented ball players, a handful of day one impact starters. It's damn near a perfect draft class. It really is. So, you know, props to Pittsburgh, props to Omar Khan, props to Mike Tomlin, who I'm sure had a good bit of say in a lot of these picks. just really, really well done by Pittsburgh. But yeah, that's going to do it for my AFC North draft grades. I hope you all enjoyed this video. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you. I appreciate it. And if you want to further show your support, definitely make sure to leave a like down below. And also don't be afraid to leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought of these teams' draft classes or who your favorite player was from these teams' draft classes. For me personally, I got to go with Keanu Benton from Pittsburgh, Chase Brown from the Bengals, Andrew Voorhees for the Ravens, and probably Luke Weipler for the Cleveland Browns. Those would be my 4 picks. So yeah, let me know that down in the comments below, and definitely stay on the lookout for more of these coming very, very soon. I'm not going to take 8 or so days between each video, I promise. We got to get those out a little bit quicker, and my finals are about to be wrapped up, so that's going to give me a lot more time to do stuff like this. I'm also just getting over COVID, so motivation is a hell of a thing to figure out these days, but slowly getting there, definitely getting there. Getting this hammered out is definitely making me feel a lot more motivated, so definitely make sure to keep an eye out for some fun stuff coming throughout the summer. Definitely going to be trying out some new things, and hopefully y'all will want to come along for the ride. So if you do, make sure to subscribe down below. We're slowly creeping towards 200 subscribers, and yeah, we're just trying to grow and get better and learn how to do this whole YouTube thing. So again, I appreciate you watching if you made it this far into the video, and to everyone out there watching, whether it's day, night, evening, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you, I hope you enjoy it because you're all wonderful people and you deserve it.